Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quantum Leap Revisited, a show that we do once a week where we celebrate the classic Quantum Leap show that ran from 1989 to 1993, starring Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. And this week, we're going to be talking about the episode Last Dance Before an Execution. Very interesting episode. And as always, I have a great panel of gentlemen that are here to talk about the episode with me. Let's start with Ro from the Sacrif Podcast. Ro is also the co-founder of the Red 5 Network, a network of other podcasters, which he's kind of in charge of. He's also a veteran broadcast newsman. And it's great to have you here, Ro. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, Price. Good to be here. Good to see the chat. Good to see Script in the house. Thank you for having this thing tonight.
Yeah, great to do this as usual. And of course, you can listen to Ro's podcast anywhere that has podcasts, like Amazon, Apple, Spotify, anything you can think of. So you should check that out. And he also has a YouTube channel, so check that out as well. In addition, we have the Script Doctor here. The Script Doctor is a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting. And in addition, he has his own show, Scripts on Saturdays, every Saturday, where he goes over screenplays that at one point have been considered by big studios or still being considered by big studios now, or even greenlit by big studios. He goes over these scripts and analyzes them with a guest and gives his analysis and evaluation. And he's here with us today, which is always great. How's it going, Script?
It's going well. We have a very fun episode to discuss tonight. So you guys are all in for a good show.
Yep.
It was fun.
I don't know.
There's some things about this episode we gotta address.
It's certainly an interesting episode. You know what I like about this show is that it tries a lot of different things, and it's different than other episodes. It does try something, and there's some swinging for some fences here, and sometimes things, the swinging is more successful, and sometimes it's less successful. I think in this stream today, we're gonna be evaluating how successful the swinging was, if at all.
Good to know.
And let me find that file so we can already kind of dig in. You can tell jokes in the meantime.
I don't know any.
Yeah, nobody does.
I only know dirty jokes.
Nothing appropriate for this channel.
The Joker told jokes in The Dark Knight. I think he told jokes.
No, he didn't. He told stories.
Oh, he told stories. Yeah, Alfred was supposed to tell jokes. I think that was in Batman Begins. But in any case, we got last... Oh, wait, sorry. That's not what I meant. Where is it? There's... Last Dance. Okay, I think I got it. So here we are. Present. Share screen. Sorry, Tex. Okay. And then, yes, bigger is necessarily better, as Ro likes to say, or in big in it, depending on how. I don't know.
We've got enough little phrases that you could probably open up a TeePublic T-shirt store and we can sell some of these T-shirts. Plot holes and big in it.
We should do that.
The script doctor dancing hands.
Let me just go, yeah.
We should do that. So, okay, so we got the episode here, and there's some good people, as always, hanging out with us. That's always great.
So what number episode did we already pass the halfway mark of all?
Yeah, I believe we did. This is the third season, 19th episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you right now, it is
out of 97. Yeah, we were definitely a little over half.
This is the 50th episode.
Okay.
Mhm.
And in a way, could this be our 50th stream? Maybe.
Well,
You'll
excluding
have to
last
see.
week's, highlight, this would be 51, I think.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Wow.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Tex Rogers probably is
He'll
more
know.
on top of the whole numbers thing, but
Oh yeah.
good
He
to
said
know.
this is 50.
And then so it starts off, of course, the opening that we know, good opening. And as we saw last week, he arrives here and he is
In
about to
panic
be
mode.
yeah, total panic, which we don't always see Sam this kind of panic, but this is a situation that it's not something that he could just say something, to get out of very easily. Basically, he's about to be electrocuted in the electric chair. You understand what it means. And then before they pull the lever, he says, "Oh God," which is something that he usually doesn't say. He usually
This is
says,
the
"Oh
first
boy."
time. Yeah, this is the first time he doesn't say "oh boy."
After establishing his oh boys, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean this is one heck of a tease to start your episode on, and also one heck of a
Yeah.
bumper to end last week's episode on, because your entire thought process is like, well, how is he going to get out of this one?
Yeah. Like, where do you go from there? Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And
Yeah.
then, of course, it's May 12th, 1971. The episode starts, and
There's Jenny Gago.
Jenny Gago. Is she a known actress?
Yes.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
God, almost 100 things. And she's still going strong today. But yeah, she's been around for a long time.
She seemed very familiar, but I didn't know why she seemed familiar.
She looks a little like Deborah Pratt, but she's got a bit more of like a strength to her.
Yes,
in her posture and presence.
I mean, let's put it this way. I think that Deborah Pratt is a fantastic writer and producer, and I like Deborah Pratt a lot. But as an actress, I feel like Jenny Gago is stronger. Like that,
Yes.
you could look. There's something in her eyes that's very powerful. Actually, this actress,
Mm-hmm.
you just look at her and it's just kind of very a stronger type of edge or presence or whatever you want to call it. But that's not to take away from Deborah Pratt, who I think is an all-around professional, industry professional. I'm just saying that this lady who focuses more on acting, I think that in that department maybe she has that edge over Deborah in this instance.
Well, she's an established character actor, which means that like she's whenever you need a role, whenever you just have like an ambiguous role that needs to be defined well, and it's only for like a short episode run or a single episode, you would go to someone like Jenny Gago or like Kevin Pollak, who's another famous character actor, or a number of other actors that have been supporting in Quantum Leap in this particular series. She's been working for like 40 years and hasn't slowed down, even though she's never been a regular on a television series. She's been around long enough that if you watched a lot of television, you're like, oh, I know who that is. I know that person.
I mean, she looks very familiar to me, and
Yeah.
Definitely, and I agree with you, because what happens here is, there's a story happening in 40 minutes, and you on this show, especially on Quantum Leap, because he leaps in, and you're only going to get 40 minutes with these characters. You really want to already have somebody that kind of grabs your attention and already conveys certain emotions, feelings, and already has a certain presence, because we don't have 70 hours to get to know her. So I think that's why these type of character actors are so necessary. And she definitely delivers what she needs to. I think that immediately you kind of like her, and she's likable, kind of right out the gate. She's she certainly looks pleasant enough, but also she has like this kind of character and kind of an edge. I liked all of that stuff, personally.
Yeah.
What did you think, Ro?
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I want to hear what your thoughts are.
No, absolutely. As far as her, I recognized her right away. I didn't know what her name was, but I've seen her in movies like Mi Familia, and people are saying that she was a regular in Alien Nation and some other shows. But yeah, she's one of those actresses that is consistent with her. Like, she's not like super famous, but she's consistently working You can see her in a lot of work, and she's really great in everything that she's in. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. One of the things that I really loved about this episode overall was the acting. I think everybody brought their A game. From all the attorneys that are in the show, and the story was pretty good, and we'll get into it. There's some nice little twists and turns that I thought were really cool later in the story. But yeah, I really liked the episode too, by the way.
Okay, so let's continue going through it.
Oh, people were saying that something about the reflection, another little plot hole. Like, is that Sam in the reflection, or the actor that plays Jesus?
That's Jesus, because there's no hair.
Yeah,
but it looks really
somewhere else. Somebody was saying that when he turns over, there's a
mirror.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that, but
I didn't either.
Might
Yeah,
be able to do it this time.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to see.
This is Jesus actor.
It should be. It looks kind of like him, because I can't see any hair on Scott Bakula. But that might also be just the fact that the light's not doing a proper reflection off the glass.
It's not really showing us. It's really hard for us to tell.
Yeah. Plus, he's got the leather around his mouth. It does look like Scott Bakula, but
it kind of looks like Scott Bakula. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I can see it again, but we will get a better looking at his actual body's face, because he stares at it for quite a bit in the jail cell when we get there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I found this odd, this little tail end sequence before everybody goes crazy. The red phone obviously is ringing, and it's obviously the governor. He's gonna, reveal some news or whatever. But it's like, it's weird to me that when that phone rings, it's obviously the governor saying, stay of execution, or
48 hours,
right? Or don't kill him. Like in any instance, I guess, in any like execution of that style for that time, and everybody's like waiting, like looking at the phone, like do you not know what it is? Pick up the phone. You're about to save a man's life. It was just odd to me.
Yeah. They don't let that phone ring too long when they're doing this type of stuff, because it's usually there's a chain of custody, a chain of authority that has to be respected. Fun fact, there's a documentary out there with unedited footage of Ted Bundy when he's doing one of his interviews, and he is listening for a phone call because he made a proposition to the federal government to in exchange for his execution, to allow him to live and have basically a life continue a life sentence. He was going to help them psychoanalyze other serial killers in like a Hannibal Lecter type of way deal. And every single time the phone rings, he stops trying to look to see if it's the right phone that he wants it to ring, so that his offer's taken up, and it never is. And it's quite funny, because you only hear like 1.5 rings every time that phone rings, because everybody's picking them up right away. Here in the scene, of course, they let it ring a few times for dramatic tension.
Right. Sure. Dramatic effect. But the second it happens, this guy who's Moody, that's like the district attorney, right?
Yeah, who's a character actor in a bunch of Star Trek episodes too. So
yeah, he also looked familiar.
He's a really great actor. He made me believe that he was a racist politician. I hated him.
Yeah. He was in The Sting way back in the day, if you remember that one. That's James Sloyan. I think it's Sloyan he's pronounced. I've never met him, but I think he's retired. But he's been around for a long time.
So at this point, Sam is being taken back to his cell, and people are like, "Oh, you're like Lazarus. You've risen from the dead." I don't know what, and they're saying they're putting him in this thing, and then the police officer's like, "Don't get too comfortable here."
Yeah,
no, the white ones are
right.
We packed your stuff in boxes. But you ain't gonna be here for much longer, is you?
Yeah, don't go unpacking your
don't
stuff.
Don't bother unpacking your stuff.
Yeah,
we'll be back.
Because we're in Florida in 1971, which is during a divisive time in that state, if my history is correct.
And then so then at this point he's here, and then he says don't get too comfortable, and then this guy who's, I think his name is Raul,
Mhm.
and he's like, mi amigo, we have a chance.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is his co-conspirator, a
Right.
person who's also convicted for this crime, which we slowly find out is that Jesus and Raul were charged and convicted for murdering a priest after stealing from a collection box.
right. And then he's like, estoy muy feliz, mi amigo,
That's pretty good, Price.
libre. Anyhow, and then we see these guys and like, what do they have? How did they do it? How'd they pull it off?
How
Well,
they
yeah,
know
what-
so
they're-
much, and what do they know that allowed this 48-hour stay of execution? I mean, it has to be a technicality, which is great. Great deduction by this team.
You want to tell me that this guy was able to file some piece of paper for some old law books?
Well, he didn't say this guy. It wasn't that nice.
No, he said an illiterate Cuban. Yeah.
Right.
This illiterate Cuban filed some kind of appeal with some old law books. Somebody must have been helping him.
Yeah, they determined something but helping them. But the guy with the glasses was basically saying, like, there's something that we probably have missed and we shouldn't have missed. And we have to go over our steps and we have to start going over everything we did. And of course, the head guy is like saying, he's a convicted felon. We got to kill him, because if I kill him, I get a bonus to my publicity rating for my eventual run for governorship of the state.
And what was the other thing? The other attorneys were kind of reassuring him that, you know, they've got nothing, that their case is safe, that especially,
problem,
you know, no problem, because we did it by the book. And he's like, we did do it by the book, didn't we? So there was still like this little, you know, doubt that they might have, you know, cut some corners. But that gives you kind of a little bit of a red herring when later on they, well, obviously not to us, because the audience, we already know who's helping them later on, but we get to try to figure out if, you know, who it was in the office that was kind of sneaking around or providing him with information. Yeah.
And we also get the sense that there's a little bit of a role being played by a couple of the parties in that scene. I thought it was also kind of funny how the DA is screaming about the reason that the execution was stayed is because the governor is a liberal.
Right. A bleeding liberal. That's what they called him back then.
Wants to be certain that they're going to be, that the conviction is sound and not execute an innocent man, which I thought was kind of very funny, because it's like, well, anyone with a conscience, regardless of political party, should be considering that.
Yeah, right.
Right, but a lot of times these type of district attorneys only think in terms of wins or losses, and something like this could be an embarrassment for them if they're caught doing something bad. So just before we go on, I just want to say, Lisa could try and set price of reason. I still think one night you should act out the whole episode. It'd be so much fun. That probably would be rather interesting if
series finale. That's what you got to do. You got to act out the series finale.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But Tex Rogers isn't as excited. Lisa Katrina would be different, but not as good as the analysis. But Ron Donofrio, on the other hand, he does like the idea. So
we should do a vote. Yeah, we should do a vote.
Throw a poll.
Yeah.
A Price full episode voiceover should be an aside, not one of the normal ones. Well, one day we'll see what we do with it. But in any case, back to this episode. So Al arrives and he basically, remind me what he's like. You just tell him that they got executed.
No, so Sam is freaking out because it's been hours, and Al's trying to say, well, it's not easy to find you. When you leaped into the guy, he thought he died and he went into a coma, and we can't get him out, so we weren't able to figure out who was in your body and therefore figure out where you were and figure out how to, because again, Sam, Al does not see Sam as Sam. He sees him as the person that he's leapt into. So even when they're analyzing the period that they're able to find with Ziggy, they don't know who Sam is in this entire space, and it's not a location that they are able to zero in on. It's basically just the year at best, is my understanding up into those point. And so yeah, they had a difficult time figuring out, where Sam was and whose body he was in before they could actually show up. Which I thought, yeah, okay, I get it, trying to really increase the tension and
I kind of like that, and I like the idea that that the guy thought he was dead. I thought that was pretty funny, actually.
yeah,
So that was pretty. That actually makes sense. It doesn't always make sense, but in this case, that he thinks that he was electrocuted, and now this is, heaven or whatever he thinks he is. I think that's actually funny, the afterlife or whatever you want to call it. But in any case, so
this was a pretty good walkthrough with Al when he walks through the bars and is pushing
that was well done. It was good lighting.
Yeah, this is pretty well done.
Yeah.
And then I also like the fact that because we have this hanging, this not artificial delay, but a logical delay of information by the fact that because Jesus back in the late 90s is in a coma, they don't really know what the details are. They have no real clue as to why Sam is here. They just know that in 48 hours, him and this Raul guy will be executed by the state. So like Sam's got a lot more things to figure out. He's got to figure out why he's here and what he's supposed to do. And the only information we learn, Al learns at this time is like, okay, your lawyer's here. He's like, okay, great. This will help us. We'll find out what the story is. And then from there, we can feed it into Ziggy and
I was thinking about Roe here, though, when I saw this lawyer. I mean, there's one thing that I have to say. If she's helping him, somebody would have called that Moody guy and told him, no?
I would think so, too. It's not like she snuck in a back door or something.
You think someone at the prison would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unless because we do know that there are some guards in that prison that are sympathetic to Jesus. And probably believe him and Raul's story. Most likely, definitely Raul, because he's the one.
I wish that would have been clarified. I wish there would have been like a few sentences showing that the guy's like, I just want to make sure nobody can see you. I want to let you in now. Anything to just cover that base, because otherwise, this guy has a lot of pull. There's no chance he doesn't know that this lady is coming here. Multiple meetings with Jesus to help him with his case. And then he's like, "Oh, like I'm putting you in charge, or you find who the mole is." It's like, that's a bit.
It's a definite plot hole.
Yeah, I was thinking of you. I saw like how somebody has like in the movies you have like an angel sitting on somebody's shoulder and like, so you were that person. He was going plot hole.
Plot hole.
I was seeing a little row on my shoulder. Anyhow, but we'll suspend disbelief here because this lady is kind of nice. And then, what are they? What happens here? Why are they?
So she's uncovered an error with regards to ballistics, where one of the there's a bullet that doesn't match the rifling inside the gun inside of Jesus's or Jesus's gun. And also that there is, I believe this is the scene where like there's a missing witness, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So because the conviction, she's basically predicating the idea, or sorry, she's basically just positing the idea that because some of the evidence that is presented is accurate, but the testimony regarding it was never properly scrutinized by Sam's original defense attorney, there's grounds for further examination in the trial, and maybe the case can be reopened and retried. Of course, Al's in the room saying like, yeah, whatever she has doesn't really work until she starts furthering presenting her case. And then Al's like, oh, I like her. She's actually got a conscience. I've never met a lawyer with a conscience before.
Right. All the lawyers I get, they're always whatever. And then she actually has morals and ideals. And then they go here and like Sam is trying to get the information. He's like, yeah, we got to go over all the details. And then the guy's like just going over the whole evening that the daughter was.
Back it up for a second. I just had an epiphany. When earlier before he meets with the attorney, does one of the guards say, hey, your attorney is here? But again, I guess we already covered it, but it was her, and then everybody should know that she's not his attorney.
Right. I mean, there's something here that's just too convenient. And really, if they would have done something that she comes at night and one guard lets her in, and it's kind of like, I can't have anybody.
She signs in saying, I'm presenting him with another plea deal offer, and he's not hoping he takes it.
Right.
Something like that, you know.
And that would have been a simple fix.
Yeah.
Or she should have said, like, listen, there's another body missing. I need to ask him a question. Maybe he knows something about this crime. Don't tell anybody. This is a different case. You'd really be helping me out. And then the guy's like, oh, of course, for you, anything, senora. And then they'd, like, you know, they'd let her in.
Sí, señora, claro que sí.
Sí, señora, eres muy bonita.
Don't give the chat any ideas. They're going to want us to do a Spanish version.
Did I do it okay? How was my execution, Ro?
Fantastic. I think you're Mexican. You could
Everybody thinks I'm something else. What can I do?
He's a Mexican from Canada.
That's funny.
That is kind of funny because you do have a little bit of a Canadian accent on the Mexican part. From some of my friends that that can speak Spanish.
It's hilarious.
I don't know how that happens.
So at this point, he's gathering all the information. And he's like, "Don't you remember that day? Like we went and
this was a long scene too.
Yeah,
a lot of information.
And this Raul guy, this actor here, man, he is really good. This is Julio Oscar Machoso, and man, like first he starts off frustrated. He's like, "What? Don't you know?" And then Sam's like, "Just you got to tell it to me as if I'm the other guy." You know, the prosecutor, the DA. And he's just like, okay, man, this is what we're going to do. And then he lays it all out. Like his daughter was sick. They couldn't afford the medicine. There was a doctor from Cuba who lost his medical license, who worked at a pharmacy. He was going to steal the medicine for a daughter, but he needed some money to kind of cover the tracks, so to speak, like proof of purchase of the sale. Right. And, so they decided, you know, because no one they knew had the money, they decided to go to the church to see if they would donate. The father apparently looked at them as they were thugs and not people to be helped, which they thought was insulting because this is a church that they patron frequently and they would give when they were there. And so they left. That Raul here went back to talk to the pharmacist guy, and then the next thing they know, they go back in to steal the money box, and then when they're gone, they find out that the father's been murdered. But Raul was with the pharmacist at the time, and his daughter treating her fever, and next thing they know, they're in jail and they're going to trial.
And this is also where he tells them how much money was in the poor box, right?
$6.
$6.
Yeah.
No, but this is interesting. The dead man said, "Can Sam speak Spanish?" when he leaps into a Spanish-speaking person. That is a very good question, and that's why you told him. You said, "Eso es una buena pregunta, dead man," which is it's a good question, dead man. So that's nice.
So the voice is the only thing the same. How Sam speaks is consistent. So he's probably speaking English without an accent. But the voice sounds the same.
Probably. And then he's like,
there was another episode early on where he leaped into a Spanish, like a cholo from the barrio. But he didn't speak Spanish. But his character didn't speak Spanish either. It was
right. He was a younger teenager guy,
Yeah.
so I think they were trying to, make it so maybe he's not as Spanish speaking.
Fluent, yeah.
And then there's also the time when he leapt into the circus, and his family spoke one of a European,
Romanian or whatever it is,
Romanian or something. Yeah,
Hungarian, Romanian, whatever it was. But yeah, there's things here that sometimes you kind of gotta just go with the flow,
right.
Not think about him too much. Anyhow, back to this scene, he's like, "Mi hija Rosita está enferma," or whatever it is he tells him. He actually says in English, says, "Oh, my daughter Rosita is sick. You helped over there. It was only $6. We shot the priest." No, then not the shot. They left. They didn't shoot the priest. Like, as far as this guy Raul knows, like they left and they took the $6 and that was the end of it. So here, when you're watching the episode, you're still under the impression that maybe they're just both falsely accused that somebody else killed that priest, and
Yeah, that would be like the not the cliche, but like the expected plot device.
Right. And then here she's at the office, and Sam's telling her that she needs to find that bullet. And I think Al's like, Sam, I can go with her there and I can lock in on the thing and help her out, or I don't know what. And he's
like, maybe Ziggy can alter the hand link so that we can scan for metal or lead or whatever.
Kind of convenient, but again, let it slide. It's better than nothing, I guess.
It was a cool effect. We'll see it later, but I thought it was pretty neat.
It was pretty well done, I guess.
I think it would have been cooler if they said, we'll send someone down to the church in current time and see if they can examine and find it with modern technology, and then I can then tell you, and you can help her.
That probably would have been great, but
yeah,
it's fine. That was an option and probably a better one, but it's okay
because it leads to this one scene that I was laughing in tears when it happens, but we're not there yet. But we're there pretty soon.
But then here's the part that he's like, oh, but what are you? Where are you? He's like, I'm at the office. I'm about to have a important meeting with Moody, and he's like, be careful.
So he's coming. He's coming. Look out your window.
So she knows. She's like, yeah, I know. I don't want to be here. As long as I'm not on the phone with you, I'm good.
Right.
Right. And then he's like, well, I want you to find the mole. I know it's not any of you, so you got to get going and look at everybody. And they're like, ugh.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what the scene was. I mean, it goes on a little too long, in my opinion, but it's a good scene. And here, this is where Sam is like, okay, so the priest was shot twice. One bullet was a through and through. But the only bullet recovered was the one from his body. So where's the other bullet? She's like, we don't know. They searched the church up and down and couldn't find it, which means that they didn't do a good job. And so the question is, if she can find the bullet and the ballistics don't end up confirming that they're not going to match his gun, that will force a reinvestigation. Yeah.
And this is where he's becoming more and more frantic because Sam even understands that his time is limited.
Right.
So he's starting to get really stressed about it.
Yeah.
And this crime happened 2 years prior, so they weren't very hopeful of finding any evidence if there was evidence there 2 years ago during the crime.
Right.
So at this point, they're looking for
They found Al finds the bullet, but he has no idea how to communicate to the lawyer.
He's trying to talk to her, and then they come in with a little girl seeing him, which is the thing that they do sometimes on this show. It's okay though; it didn't bother me. I thought that was
I thought it was really cool. It was a good way to get that communication going, especially because they're in a church.
Right.
It just made me laugh because it's like, what are the odds that this little girl at this hour, at this time?
You know what? The odds are slim, but it was still really well done. The little girl also was nice, and it was well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he tells her that, and then she has the bullet, and then he's like, okay, great, Sam. They're going to do the ballistics, and they're going to let you go.
And then Sam's like, well, okay, but why if everything's good to go, why haven't I left yet? And
why haven't I leaped yet? Is there, Al?
Mm-hmm.
And then
she basically accosts him and says, you lied to me. The bullet does match conclusively. You shot the priest.
You told me that we were going to go, that I was putting away Cubans, and you made me feel bad.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Because didn't he call her like a traitor?
Right. Well, Jesus did, and then before Sam leapt in, and
then he shows that, well, I guess it was you. And then your career is over. And then oh no, what did I do?
Okay. You have a corrupt pixel.
And then
so while these two are fighting, this is when the DA comes in and realizes, oh, the Judas is you. Well, you're gonna fry anyways, Jesus, my boy. And that's the end of that. And he tells him the story about how some prisoners, when they're guilty on their long walk to the chair, they start fidgeting and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
He's hoping that will be the case for him,
The
because
last
this
stand.
DA really has it out for him.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love the slow zooms to their faces, intercutting when they're discussing the situation here. Is really good. Adds a sense of tension and drama.
Oh yeah, Michael Watkins back again. Does some good, make some good choices here with the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so he leaves. Sam is here. They're preparing everything. Now, this is the part that the priest comes to talk to Sam, like a last rites, whatever. Yeah. And this is kind of an interesting conversation because Sam's like, I've done everything that was asked of me. I have nothing to confess. Like, I can't die in that chair today. Like, I haven't done anything wrong.
Oh, Sean's in the chat.
Oh. Hey, what's up, Sean?
Yeah, he liked the Last Dance explanation. Yeah, it was a good little speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Let's see. And then he's like, well, I'm trying to think, what does the priest tell him?
Just appealing to him, to saying that God, he talks about how God might be too busy and it's usually the good ones that he answers last. And Sam is like, that doesn't make sense. God can never be too busy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's almost calling out the priest for not really figuring out the omnipotence of his own beliefs. But what's interesting is that there's a subtext to this, which is that even though Sam thinks he's been given up on, he's being told about the confession, and he just isn't kind of cluing in onto what it is with all the knowledge he figured out, and with what Reuel's saying here. It's like, how could you do this? How could you have killed the priest? How could you have and implicated me in such a thing? Why didn't you tell them the truth? And this is everything this is the world of this time telling Sam what he has to do next, and him not putting it together just yet.
Right.
And again, technically, when the priest is talking to Sam, I love that that they chose to leave him kind of in the background, and just every so often he'll lean into the light.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really, really great.
Yeah. So then Reuel was like, you went back, you killed him, you killed the priest, you were saying all this bad stuff, blasphemous stuff about him.
Well, don't take me away from my daughter, please.
Don't take me away from my daughter. Eres un puta.
Puto.
Yeah, the other one is a
female.
Yeah.
One's a female, one's a male.
It still sounds kind of good, but okay. I feel like there's a case to be made that he could still be calling him a puta in this case.
Right. I see.
I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if it would be fully a mistake in this one.
Right. Yeah.
Like, technically you're right, but I feel like I could get away with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see what you did there. I understand. Yeah, this lighting is great.
Well, I mean, he's being
very
executed
dramatic
in the very early hours of the morning, is my understanding.
Yeah. It was 7:15 or something.
So this is when Al pops in and he says, we figured it out. You got to confess. And he's like, confess to what? Confess that you did this. And Al finds all this information. Like, they find the missing witness, where he is.
Right. The missing witness who was given the opportunity to get his license in New York if he leaves Florida.
And never vows never to return.
Right.
And Al figures this all out, and he just tells Sam to say this as part of his confession. Now, this is a fun little interesting aspect with regards to a lot of laws throughout the Western world, which is if you have like a confession or a final declaration, it is presumed to be true because you are saying it basically.
Right, you're about to die, so why would you lie?
You're about to die, so what's the motivation of lying, right? So there's a great deal of benefit given to that that information, and it's in many cases when those types of things have been recorded and there's been a follow-up to it, you find out that more often than not the person was telling the truth at that time. So it's given a lot of credence, and that's what Sam does here. He says everything. He even knows the phone number of the doctor in New York and his alias, which is
Manny Vasquez or whatever.
Right,
exactly. But
it's not, his name isn't Julio anymore. His name is Manny Vasquez or something like that.
Yeah.
And she calls him and she confirms that it's true. But then all of this doesn't matter to Sam because he's still gonna leap.
And Al's like wondering, why aren't you leaping, Sam? Why? Come on,
Why
Sam,
leaping?
leap.
And then, like, as they pull the lever, like, he leaps.
He leaps
really cutting
into
it
a
close.
Russian wrestler.
A Russian wrestler, and then
so anticlimactic.
Yeah. It's like we go from a dark, serious tone to he's in a red leotard with the sickle and hammer, being flatlined by a by a giant Big Show type wrestler.
Mhm.
Yes. So very interesting episode. And really, I like it when this show, as I was saying at the beginning, tries something else. There have been episodes that have been a little more just standard, and there have been ones that have been a little more unique. And I thought this was a rather unique episode.
Yeah. Oh no, this was one that definitely swung for the fences. It does play into another tactic that was used earlier, which Sam is actually inside the perpetrator, and it's all about just getting them kind of caught and exonerating the people that were pulled into their own activities unwittingly or through manipulation, which I think is awesome. And I also like the fact that it's got this proper mystery setup and a proper payoff at the end. So we are all under the presumption that it's these two innocent men, when the twist is that it's only one of them's innocent and the guilty one is the person that Sam has leapt into, and we're finding all the evidence to realize that that reality. And then on top of that, you even have a commentary on the criminal justice system at that time, where even though the outcome was mostly correct in the fact that he was the guilty party, the methods with which the state used in order to achieve that conviction weren't really legal. They were manipulative. They were abusive. They got lucky that he was also the perpetrator of the crime, as opposed to doing their proper due diligence, where had the prosecution and the investigation did do their job, they would have been able to properly identify, yes, party A in Sam was the murderer of the priest. Party B, he only stole $6. So we have to make sure that we're properly appropriating the right charges to each of those people for the crime that they committed, and not lump them together and kill them both.
I mean, listen, a lot of these things, unfortunately, in reality, a lot of these prosecutors, these district attorneys, it is a numbers game, and they want to show that they're tough on crime and that they manage to convict a lot of people. And I'm sure maybe today there's people that are a little more cautious about hiding evidence and doing stuff like that, because it's more difficult with the way information is captured and travels these days to kind of sweep so many things under the carpet and manipulate so many things. But I could totally see where in 1971 some kind of power hungry district attorney just starts fudging things. He figures these two guys look like hoodlums. They stole. Everybody saw them stole. I'll just convict them. They killed them. Who cares? Like, in his mind, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
he's just probably
those dirty Cubans.
He's probably saying, I took some trash off the streets, didn't I? Like, that's what he's telling his buddies, that, when he's drinking beer with them and smoking a cigar.
He's justifying it. Yeah, he's justifying it. He's justifying his unethical means. The other part too, and this is something that, I mean, if you followed not just on social media but on the news, there's been over the last 25 years, like thousands of cases that have been re-examined, and people who have been in life in prison or on death row have been exonerated, because you find out that in a lot of counties, it's not so much about getting justice or finding the actual perpetrator. It's about peace of mind to the community by just picking someone that meets as much of the criteria and convicting them so that they feel safe at night, as opposed to actually finding the real perpetrator. That's a desperate type of mentality. That means that the people that are in charge of that are incompetent, because they don't care about actually keeping your community safe. They just care about the illusion of safety by way of finding the closest person that fits the profile and making sure that everything that they accuse them of sticks in court, whether it's real or not.
Right. I just want to quickly say Lady Luna gave this $5 super chat. Thank you, of course, Lady Luna. Price, these quantum leap analysis literally help lower my stress as I wind down my day. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Rowan Script, you guys rock too. Well, that's very kind of you, Lady
Thank you.
Luna. We really appreciate it, and we love hanging out with you all. So, for us, it's also it's fun, and it wouldn't be the same fun if you guys weren't here with us. And we
Absolutely.
appreciate you
100%.
guys too. It leads to kind of a bigger overall interesting discussion. I also saw Marla Sharondoff here, and she said done and done, but I'm not really sure what she's done.
Hitting the like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I see. Everybody hit the like, done and done. Thanks for that. That was quite an investigation, Ro.
I'm like Columbo.
You're like Columbo.
Just
You're
one more
better than
thing.
that DA.
Yep.
In any case, yeah. So hold on, let me see. Super Mario Brothers 3, Price of Reason Live. This is the only episode of Quantum Leap to be co-written by Bill Bigelow. He is best known for his work on Hawaii Five-0. I did not know that. In any case, I think we were talking about this episode and how it kind of stands out, or what we think about it. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. There was the one Her Charm. I think he was the perpetrator, correct? The one with Terry Austin. I think he was an FBI agent that was crooked, right?
Yeah. That's right. He was the yes, for witness protection. He was the guy assigned to take her out.
Mhm.
Right, and it won't be the last time. I can think of other cases where something like this happens, but it doesn't happen every time. So, what was interesting in both cases is that because he's Sam, he doesn't immediately know that he is the bad guy, which is interesting because he basically figures it out along with us, and it's not really him that did the bad deed. He's just trying to somehow make this whole thing work.
Mhm.
So in this case, Jesus was guilty. In that case with the FBI agent was guilty. So I think it's interesting. They have different tools in their bag, and they use different ones at different times. Maybe sometimes they kind of reuse a tool, but they do enough variations on it that I think makes it interesting.
Oh yeah. So in one case he was part of the system. In another case he's a criminal. So that's one deviation that works enough for you to explore different stories with the same basic concept in play.
I guess people are talking about the reboot. Jamie saves it wasn't supposed to be reboot. It was supposed to continue the series, but failed miserably at that.
Correct.
That is true. It did fail. It is one of the worst kind of sequel series, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
I just watched one episode and thought it was really bad.
And that was probably the best episode. Like, it's a show that does not improve. Like,
Yeah.
the more you watch it, the more you just get annoyed. And you know how we make fun of like J.J. Abrams and his kind of stupid cheap way of think like Rise of Skywalker, just a bunch of nonsense. I feel like Quantum Leap, that reboot series, it had two people that were like third generation disciples. They were like, they once worked for Kurtzman, who worked for Abrams or something like that. And that's pretty much what the show was. And along with like a bunch of, no other way to look at it, aggressive DEI, agenda peddling, things like that, along with like J.J. Abrams, not even J.J. Abrams, like sub J.J. Abrams level writing. And it was like a perfect storm of everything that's wrong in entertainment in one show, in my opinion, at least. But that's a conversation for another time. If you want, Ro, at some point you can watch more episodes. Maybe you'll feel differently than me. I can tell you that it's like an embarrassing.
One was enough.
Ro doesn't waste time. He saw one episode. He's like, screw this.
I'm done.
It is, but I think that what I will say quickly is they were trying to make it. You know how you watch like one of those kind of cop dramas, like NCIS or something, and it's not something that like it's very kind of generic. That's how that Quantum Leap reboot show felt, but even worse, it was like generic and like agenda peddling, which is like how bad can it be? That's like the worst. But regardless, back to this episode. Script, how did you feel about this episode that we saw now?
I appreciate the risk it took, and I think it played out pretty well. I mean, despite the fact that I just could not help laugh when that little girl popped out of nowhere to do the angel bit, which I thought was endearing and charming. It just made me laugh because I'm like, that's your workaround. That's how you can do it. You've already established multiple times in this series that little kids, usually under the age of 5, can see Al. And
it was either that or a dog or a pig, right?
Well, I don't want to see a pig in a church with a bunch of Latin people, because that might lead to a feast later on.
Yep.
So,
I also want to point out something else, which is interesting. As much as, let's say, like I criticize that kind of DEI or whatever you want to call it of the news show. The reason why I criticize it there is that, there's one episode I can think of that I think a priest went back to, like, not a priest. He leaped into a priest that was like in 1920 or something like that, the guy on the new show, and he arrives at some house and there's a black doctor. Now, the thing is that I'm not saying that in 2024 there isn't a black doctor, and if you're going to do something that involves people walking around in 2024 and running into a black doctor, that's absolutely fine.
You mean 1924?
What'd you say?
You mean 1924? Because you kept on saying 2024.
Okay, I'm saying that if the episode were taking place in 2024 and not 1924,
right,
then the fact that you'd run into a black doctor would make perfect sense. The thing is that in 1924, the black doctor feels like he probably wouldn't be there, and the only reason he's there is because they want to say, look, we put a black doctor here. But this is a time travel show. And as opposed to what I just said, in this episode, I think that this is the kind of stuff where you highlight a certain issue that could be relevant even today, but you do it in a way that feels true to its time. Meaning, the fact that there's this kind of DA, especially at that moment in time, that has it out for Cuban people, and he's acting the way he's acting, it doesn't feel like any kind of DEI to me. It feels like something that they're actually... It's rather realistic. It's something that I can buy. I buy it that there's a guy like that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, I also buy it. You have a woman whose parents were Cuban immigrants to Florida prior to the Cuban Missile Crisis. She was born there as an American citizen. She grew up, got educated, worked her butt off to become a lawyer, and was appointed into the DA's office. All that makes sense. The biggest problem with the more recent show is the fact that they wanted to do something with an agenda to it, when what they could have done, even though it would have broken, heck, they were breaking quantum leap rules anyways, they could have just looked through the history books for an actual black man that was a doctor at that period and said, let's do a story around him before maybe he got his prominence that we knew of at that time. Because then at least you're trying to stick to a little bit of authenticity, and you're not just trying to say, yeah, this could have been, this happened all the time. You're not rewriting history, or you're not in the sense of like, because Quantum Leap is rewriting history, but in the very intimate, small cases, not in the broader scope of things. But when you jump back in time to do something like that, or what about the one where he jumps back in time and then he's one of 3 sisters, and one of the sisters identifies as a man? Like, it's just in 1948 or 1958.
Right, that was so weird.
Like, that doesn't make, like, we knew tomboys always existed.
Right. No, but the thing is, she was pasting, sorry, Ro, I'm going to use a naughty term. She was trying to, like, put a bandage over her boobs so that she doesn't look like a woman, and all this weird stuff. And man, that did not make any sense that in that year, it felt so, the whole episode felt so aggressive with that agenda and out of place. You want to make a show about modern times, about people going through stuff, make whatever you want. But this was so heavy-handed and just strange and illogical. You want to take people on a time travel show on a journey that they feel like they're in a different point in time. If you can't deliver that, then you're not really staying true. Forget about staying true to the canon or to the lore, which they didn't. The fact that they were hacks and miserable excuses for writers, but that they would continue to even do that thing, like to top it off. What you just described, it was just awful. And I'll give you another example. There was something that one of the episodes that actually, the only ones that new show tried to swing for a fence and had half an idea that was somewhat interesting, even though I think they fumbled it at the end, that he keeps leaping into different people in the same nuclear facility, I think in the 50s or something like that. Did you see that episode?
Yeah, I remember that one.
There was
that
something
was
like
actually
with
a good premise.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the only ones that they had some kind of interesting premise, even though that one also ended up being a stinker. But at least it had like a mildly interesting idea. The thing is that there was like a reporter there that was Asian, and they let her into like the secret facility.
Never
If I'm not
happened.
mistaken,
Yep.
I do not believe that in that year, especially with everything going on, I don't think there would be like an Asian female like girl boss reporter there. It just doesn't make any
No.
sense.
Even if she was like 5th generation American, they still wouldn't have let her in there at that time.
Yeah, they wouldn't have let her in there. It's a different time, and you got to respect when you're telling like a story. You got to respect it. It's as if, we saw that episode that he's in the South as a black driver. If the new crew would have made that episode, he would have arrived in the South and he would be like telling everybody what to do, and they tell him like, "You're the best." But that ruins the episode. That doesn't make any sense, and that's what like the new series was like. It was a bunch of people that don't want to get triggered, that want to pat each other on the back and bring like modern day 2024 sensibilities and and agendas and politics and ideologies, and paste them on a guy that's suddenly in 1924.
Yeah, they're taking the put right what once went wrong, and they're using their perspective of right as opposed to what is the more broader spoke of like this person was wronged by this person for these selfish reasons. Not we're trying to make the history of the past reflect what we think we've learned as justice today, because that's not the same thing.
Right, and Tex Rogers like, we got Price on the
Yep, take a drink, guys.
Right, and Lisa Catran says, I don't think any of the writers saw the OG, and then he's like, oh, the original. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they watched the original. If they did, they didn't really care about it. They weren't honoring it in any way. And we have a super chat from the Dead Man. I think this episode kind of an indictment of the criminal justice system and the ethics of execution as a punishment. And I agree with you, Dead Man. And the other thing I'll say is, it on one hand is happening in 1971, but at the same time, you could still walk away from it and feel like maybe you could find a crappy DA even now somewhere that would still be an asshole. Maybe he wouldn't be as vocal about it. Maybe he wouldn't speak his thoughts like that, but still that would be the direction. And I think that that's what makes a series timeless and interesting, versus just trying to, deal with a flavor, trendy topic of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of valid reasons why you don't want to have capital punishment, because you're giving government a power with which they have potential to abuse. That's the main argument against it. The other argument is that for some criminals that have done horrific things, that the fact that they've been caught and they've been incarcerated opens up an opportunity to examine them on a psychological scale and find what are those points that most likely have allowed this person to develop this way, and share that publicly so that we as this culture can ensure that we're not creating the next generation of horrible people by repeating the bad habits that have created this person. And you don't get that opportunity when you reflexively decide, okay, we've convicted this person beyond a reasonable doubt. All the evidence says this. Now we're just going to send them to the chair, so to speak. It's like, well, okay, you punish that person, but as a culture, as a society, we always play a role in creating the people around us to some degree. It's whether or not it's up to the individual to resist that forced creation or to capitulate to it. And the ones that commit the crimes usually are the ones that have capitulated to that because they're responding in a way that they feel like is justified to justify their actions. So if we can figure out, well, okay, so how did this person get to this point? Maybe we should start being a bit more aware of not creating such environments to facilitate that, whether it's cultural, whether it's intimate with regards to families, and whether it's also, being more communicative with our friends, neighbors, and people around us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I'm trying to think what else we could somehow cover here, but I think we have covered it.
Yeah.
Maybe just some final thoughts is how when you look at episodes we've seen until now, we've seen about 50 until now, where do you see this episode, Ro?
Well, as your DEI hire here at The Price of Reason Live, I would like to say that I really enjoyed this episode. I think it was It was risky, but I think at this point the show was probably trying new things and trying new dramatic narratives. I think this one really worked for me. I enjoyed I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the some of the technical aspects, like I mentioned, some of the camera work and lighting and stuff like that was really dramatic. I saw somebody earlier in the chat talk about the fact that Scott Bakula mentioned at a convention that he really hated shooting this episode, I think because he was feeling overworked. But I think if that's the case, then you can really tell whether he was acting or not, or if he was really, tired and not enjoying this episode. You can really tell that there was a conflict with Sam. Obviously, we know as an audience that he was trying to figure out, why he's there, like usual. But there was something extra in that performance and everyone's performance, but Sam in particular. You really can tell how troubled he was. He seemed very conflicted. He seemed very and whatever it is that he did, whether he was feeling it behind the scenes or his acting, it was very well communicated, even many years after the fact. Obviously watching it for the first time, I really enjoyed this episode. I think for me it's like in the top 10 maybe. There are a lot of good ones, but this one is good for different reasons. And I think I hate using this term because my friend Ryan Johnson has said it many times. It's subverted my expectations, but it's one of those shows. It's one of those episodes that really, it threw me back because it gave me something different. Again, 50 shows into it. This one really, I think it kind of broke the mold a little bit and gave us something different to chew on.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with subverting expectation. It's just in the Ryan Johnson way. It's basically you're expecting it like to be good and to be respectful of canon and lore, and he just takes a dump on you. That's the surprise.
That's proper, because subversion is always to demoralize. And the fact of the matter is so many people have not known that definition and not used it properly since Ryan Johnson has said subverting expectations. Because the whole idea is that you're supposed to be surprised. You're supposed to be not seeing what the right hand is doing. The whole idea, it's a magic trick, right? It's called setup, distraction, surprise, SDS. And he's using it in the term of, no, I want to deceive you into thinking I'm doing this and then completely pull the rug out from under you that I'm doing this horrible thing to elicit a specific reaction, whereas setup, distraction, surprise is supposed to set you up on something interesting, distract you with something doubtful to give you concern, and then surprise you with a catharsis that's rewarding of the setup. And that's completely different than subverting expectations. You can never do a subverting expectations that has a benefit of positivity to your audience. It's impossible, because otherwise you're no longer demoralizing them.
So Tex Rogers says Sam didn't. I agree with you, Scripps. Sam didn't leap in to save this guy, yeah. And Lisa Catron, I like this one. It's very dark.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Nutskubla, nice to see you here. The reason why modern depictions of racism and prejudice in media so ham-fisted and annoying is because they treat and prejudice like intangible things that permeate society from the shadows. The Dead Man says this is proper science fiction that makes you think. I agree. Mm-hmm. And Marla says he doesn't always leap in to save the person he's switched with. Usually it's someone that person knows. Yeah, I mean, a lot of good points here. I just want to also say something. Ro, you said that you were the DEI hire, and I know you were joking, but I want to say that that would be impossible. The DEI hire, usually it's somebody that, like, let's say doesn't have real credentials or maybe isn't even good at something, and just somebody wanted to do a check mark and say that they hired a person that looks or has a certain characteristic about him. But that wouldn't be the case with you. So I don't know why I even addressed this, but even as a joke, I reject like your whole statement there personally.
I think I'm the only Mexican in the Red 5 network too, which is weird.
And you're the co-founder of the Red 5 network, so I don't know. I think it says something good about you.
Ron says I'm the Hispanic puppet of Price of Reason.
I just, I like you for whoever you are, Ro, and we've known each other a very long time, and I think for a very long time I didn't even. Well, I guess like if sometimes you'd show me that like you ate a taco or something, but
Wait a
if
minute.
you wouldn't have
Wait a
said
minute. Wait a
something,
minute. Wait a
maybe I
minute.
wouldn't have even.
I also eat cheeseburgers. Damn it.
You eat Taco Bell, which is strange because you think that
When
you
did I-
wouldn't eat Taco Bell.
When did I post that I eat Taco Bell?
I thought you did. I thought once you sent me something that you ate a Taco Bell, but I could be wrong. Am I wrong on this?
I don't think it was me. My ancestors would be rolling in their graves.
All right, perhaps it wasn't you, and I'm mixing it up with somebody else. I apologize. I said even if you weren't Mexican, just as a non-Mexican person, it's also not a great honor to eat a Taco Bell. I very rarely, maybe once every few years, I eat there, and then after I eat there, I kind of think to myself, "Oh, that's why I don't eat here often."
Mm.
That's just me, though. If you like Taco Bell, it's like this is the opposite of a
Now
sponsorship.
he's got to defend his Taco Bell stance.
Right.
I want to thank Lisa and some folks in the chat. They're saying that they're glad that I'm here and they enjoy my insights as a newbie. And yes, it's interesting to me, 50 episodes into the show, a series that I never watched when it was out. So I'm, obviously I'm enjoying watching it and discussing with you guys that have seen the show already. But it's a great series. Again, it's an actor that I really wasn't, drawn to originally, but I'm really enjoying, watching him do his thing because Scott Bakula is super talented.
And I just want to say something. Ron Donofrio says Taco Bell is the only one that survives the franchise wars. That's from Demolition Man.
Oh,
but
that's right.
I don't know if you know this. In different territories in the world, let's say in Europe, I believe they didn't have Taco Bell. So when they showed it in Europe, the same movie, they actually have it as Pizza Hut instead of Taco Bell. And because this change was made after the movie was already made and you didn't have the type of AI tools and whatever you have today, what they did was a very cheap overdub where you see the lips moving and saying Taco Bell, but instead of Taco Bell, you hear somebody say Pizza Hut. It's like the worst overdub script. Ro, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. And it's interesting. They must have gotten money from Pepsi, who owns both of those franchises.
Right, and they just said around the world nobody knows Taco Bell. You're going to have to change it. So then Sylvester Stallone is like, "Whoa, I can't believe it. They have Pizza Hut." Like they have. It sounds like completely out of the.
Yeah,
it so sounds awful when he does it. Yeah,
that's funny.
But that was just an anecdote that I wanted to say because Ron Donofrio brought that up. You did not know that, but it is true.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean knew that. Yes, Pizza Hut. But like the overdubbing of Pizza Hut is one of the worst overdubs ever.
There's a number of them for Die Hard. TBS did some overdubs, televised overdubs when they bought the television rights for Die Hard back in the day. So yeah, you don't get it. You get like Mammer Jammer, and it doesn't even fit inside the movie.
Okay. Are you guys ready? I have something to show you.
Okay.
This is for you, Ron Donofrio. Here, I'll show you what I mean.
Please, I insist. I would like you to accompany me to Pizza Hut. Look forward to it. Thank you.
And then there's, I think, another scene where they talk about
Pizza Hut? Yes. So let me get this right. It's basically Sprockets here, who's now the man in charge, the mayor Gov, who wants to take me to dinner at Pizza Hut. But Lord knows I wouldn't mind a pizza. So
it's so weird because the mouth doesn't move. I actually thought that the dubbing would be even worse than this. I thought that it was worse. Maybe because the mouth moves so differently because he's saying Taco Bell. He clearly isn't saying Pizza Hut.
But with Sylvester Stallone, I think you can put anything in his mouth to say because his mouth is a little off.
Weird,
I mean. Yeah.
And even so, it kind of doesn't come out right. But
well, I mean, the audio mixing is pretty bad. What's kind of crazy is that there's already a couple of post-production companies for redubs that are using AI to alter the lips to match the redub, so that you don't have that that illusion, which I'm not a big fan of it, but it does save a lot of time as opposed to doing a take where you put in the alternate line, because I remember some projects doing that as well, where they do one take of this line and then they do it the exact same scene again for a take of this one. There's a movie called, I think, Amazon Woman of the Moon. It's a John Landis film. One of their vignettes, they had to reshoot exactly twice because one version of it has an actress that's completely naked throughout the entirety of it, and then another version has that same actress wearing lingerie in public for the entirety of it. And it's like that's doubling your budget for that one scene or one sequence alone, which is very expensive. So, when you have to, if you can avoid those types of things so that you can get past, standards and practices with regards to broadcasting, I am for the more cost efficient way than the one that revolves, exploding your budget.
I saw that on some of the social media apps, not TikTok, but like maybe Instagram stories, where they've got a guy talking in English and then the same guy, almost like you're doing a corporate video, like if it were in Spanish or Mandarin or another language, the app would actually change the language that the spokesperson is talking, but it would also change your lips to make it match whatever it is that you're saying.
Word. And yet the tone of voice remains the exact same, which is also kind of weird.
Yeah, but it's getting there.
Yeah, it's Star Trek.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Real Sean, Amazon Women. Oh yeah, I have that. I think Sean's got every movie.
Well, it's a follow-up to, I think, Kentucky Fried Movie. It was supposed to be a sequel, but I think Universal, the original studio, didn't want to give over the rights. So when Universal did it, they altered it, altered the rights. But yeah.
Yep. And I think we've covered a lot of interesting things here in our stream today. I just want to go back and just recognize that some people hung out with us, make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think I saw a lot of them, mentioned a lot of them. Of course, Rhonda Nefero, Tex Rogers. We have Kit Kat. Nice to see you here too. If I missed somebody, let me know. Mur Rockstra, Lady Luna, of course, and thanks for the super chat. I said Tex Rogers and Rhonda Donofero, Rob Nutskubla, Lisa Katryan. Trying as best as I can. Marla Sharendorf, Ishmael, nice to see you too.
I'm trying to see if Rabnad is backwards for something. Al Bucks.
I've always tried to figure that one out. I think that either that's his name or it's just a clever. I don't know if it's a reference. I don't know what it is. Maybe he can tell us.
Maybe.
And then trying to see if I think we've gone over everybody, but Malachi D. Wildman, the Dead Man, of course, and thanks for the super chat. And Sean was here, which is nice to stop by.
Yeah.
He had to go to work. And Super Mario Brothers 3. Have I missed anybody? I'm scrolling as fast as I can here. I think we've gone over. If I missed somebody, of course, I apologize. But we steadily had a really nice audience here today, as always. And as usual, really enjoy hanging out with not only the panel of gentlemen here, but also with you guys in the chat. And I think we did another pleasant analysis of a Quantum Leap episode. We'll be here next week doing another one, doing that episode that we saw. I think it's the one with the wrestling. Interesting to see what happens there. Before we go, Ro, is there anything you want to plug?
No, just, if you guys are interested in checking out our back catalog of the podcast, we got some interesting topics. I just got off the phone with the ex-wife of Colin Cantwell. He is the model effects worker that designed the X-wing and the Star Destroyer and the Death Star before Richard Marquand got his hands on it. And we're going to be doing a live show with his wife because he passed away in 2022. They've got some news. They're teaming up with a foundation that is going to be creating a curriculum for young students working STEM and trying to introduce the craftsmanship of model making and filmmaking to young students. So we're going to probably do that sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Lady Luna. She says, thank you, fellas, for a great show. Thank you. Thank you to everybody here. And I guess, Script, anything special you want to plug before we go?
I got my show, Scripts on Saturdays, this Saturday. It's our 45th episode. And we'll be reviewing a comedy script called Hit Me Baby, which is about a man and woman couple where one of them is a hitman. And comedy ensues. I don't want to spoil it just yet. I want you guys to go over to the Patreon and read the log line there. and then come check us out 7 p.m. Eastern, where we will discuss that show for you all.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been on that show a few times, and it's always great fun to be there. But it's also great fun to watch it, and I really like what you do there. So
thank you. And we're going to be having you back pretty soon too. So
okay, great. Usually it comes as a surprise to me when I'm there. It's like, hey, do you want to be there now? I'm just kidding. You know what I mean?
Kind of like the 6 times you've been here.
Lisa's got an interesting tidbit of trivia there.
Price of Reason, thanks so much for doing this. I don't know if it was mentioned in the beginning, but today is the anniversary of Dean Stockwell's death. I did not know that. And you know what?
Sad.
Dean
Thanks for
Stockwell
bringing
was
that up.
awesome. Yeah,
Yes, he was.
He's so good on this show. Oh, somebody I think put the
Sam.
Sam. But even though I do that funny voice, I mean, he's so important to this show. He's such an important anchor. I don't know. It's just as much as Scott Bakula is excellent, and we've seen that in other shows, even something like on Enterprise. Still, the addition of Dean Stockwell here, just the 1-2 punch of these two guys and the on-screen chemistry between them, that's really a secret ingredient on this show. And Dean Stockwell was a really great character actor. Really, really great.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Dean.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for that tidbit, Lisa.
Sean Krummel says, I was trying to draw Al today. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. And Tex Roger says, yep, November 7th, 2021. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But, okay. I guess this is the time where we play our outro and say goodbye to everybody. And I'm just going to find the outro now.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'm such an awesome guy.